recording my end, yeah. Are you recording your end?
I'm recording now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got this great message this morning on what you were just saying, and that I hope you repeat again. Is this great post from a friend of mine that said, "So you've had a spiritual awakening, huh? Lost all your friends, can't work a real job anymore, and your family thinks you're nuts. Welcome to paradise."
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that great?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some sarcasm there, but actually, there's quite a lot of truth there. But I mean, what the number one thing I'm seeing with all the people I'm working with at the moment, some people would call them, clients, I guess. Um, is the changeover from the old to the new. That's what I'm seeing. The big thing at the moment. I'm still in this relationship that I basically created and merged together with myself in an old energy. It doesn't work anymore. My job, doesn't resonate anymore. All the old stuff that was created and made and forged in an old energy is now not working anymore. And and a lot of people are in a funk because they're not sure how to get out of it. And basically, if you can't raise the situation you're in with the person you're with and get them to come up, a lot of people are trying to figure out, well, how do I get out of it? And the same with the job as well. So that is the big thing I'm seeing at the moment is people are waking up very, very, very fast, and they're like, oh my God, all this stuff doesn't work for me anymore. But the job is staying the same, the husband or the wife has still stayed the same, and I'm now up here, but
Right.
I'm now stuck with this thing. That is what I'm seeing all the time at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Isn't that interesting? So a lot of people, like, they're physically stuck in the 3D, but their consciousness has moved up into 4 and 5, and so we're having to learn how to navigate both realities at the same time. And I don't know if you've seen it, but the what I was calling the two earth split about a year ago, and I've heard other people call it the bifurcation, is becoming more and more and more obvious.
Yeah, yeah, and the more you go up in vibration, the more obvious it will become to you
Hmm.
as well. But people say, well, what do I do about the relationship? I keep saying about, the same thing, trying to, if you can, get them to raise their vibration too. But if they're not willing, you're gonna have to just start focusing on yourself,
Right.
because they're gonna drag the energy out of you like there's no tomorrow. And the same with the job, it's same with the career thing. If it's really damaging to you and you really can't stand it, and if you're able to get out of it, for God's sake, get out of it, start again. If you don't have to go on holiday for 2 years, or if you don't have to have that car, or if you can just drop a few things for a year or two, just start again. You'll be so much better off in the long run than sticking with what you hate now, than
Hmm.
having to keep all the money so you can keep up with the Joneses or have the latest bloody stupid fashion or whatever. None of that matters anymore.
That's right. Yeah, and it's a lot harder to move up in consciousness. I'm speaking from experience because I kind of flatlined for about 5 years because of the relationship with my husband. So for the longest time, I felt like I was doing the splits. I guess they're vertical splits, but I felt like I was doing the splits, and it's really, really uncomfortable. And at one point, we kind of have to choose: is am I finished being this uncomfortable? And and after 5 more years than I needed to be in my marriage, I finally had to accept that there was nothing I could do to, because I wanted to bring him along. And I had even told him, I'm going on this spiritual journey. I would love for you to come with me. And he had zero interest in it. And there's a point where we have to decide, are we able to move forward in our lives while dragging our old life behind us? It's kind of like what spirit was showing me, as I was dragging an anchor behind me. And at some
Yeah,
point we have to decide whether to drop the anchor or not.
yeah.
In my particular case, it is his higher self actually told me that our contract was complete. That was like, okay, got it. It's time to let it go. And I'm glad I did. He was here a couple of days ago and being really mean and grumpy. And when he left, I was like, oh, good. I'm so glad I'm not married to him anymore. That's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
That I can stay in my own sense of peace and let him be who he needs to be. One of the things that I found is that attachments create suffering.
Yeah, yeah, they
When
do.
we're over attached to who we think other people need to be, or who we think we need to be, or how we think life needs to be, when we have those attachments that actually can create suffering. And as soon as we let go of our attachments of how we think should be, we stop shooting on ourselves and stop shooting on other people, then life becomes much more peaceful.
Yeah,
I've had to learn to do that with my kids. Just let them be who they need to be. As much as I would love for them to wake up and smell the the roses instead of the crap they're being fed,
yeah.
but I can't force them to be, and I don't know what their path is. We cannot decide for another person what their path is, as much as we would like it to be what we want it to be. They
Absolutely.
don't have their path to follow.
Absolutely. Amen. And
Yeah.
and if you're only living for the weekend, then you need to go and find something else that you love doing. If you're always thinking about, oh my God, what's the vacation I'm going to go away? Then you need to think about, well, why do you need, what are you running away from? What do you got to keep going on vacation for, to run away from? Why don't you solve, whatever it is that's going on, create a paradise, a heaven in your home first.
Right.
Uh,
Because we know that peace and heaven are an inside job.
Yeah, their happiness is an inside job. Absolutely. So all these people are now, I see it with my clients. It's like the old is still lingering. They don't know how to get rid of it. So they're looking to the external, they're looking to the external, they're looking to the external, and they're not getting anywhere. They're just getting the same feedback all the time. So there is the fence sitting days are over. So if something's not working, just I know it sounds brutal, but just cut the cord. If someone's really not willing, or something is really not serving you, and you tried and tried and tried, you got to go and be your highest version now, because that is the timeline, and that's what the energies aren't going to facilitate anything else. You're going to make yourself ill. You'll
Right.
get ill, physically ill, mentally ill, if you're pushing, and this weight that served you in an older energy, especially before 2012, if you're still pushing against that, it's
Oh,
gonna.
yeah, still pushing to before 2012 for sure, because, you know, um, 2012 was interesting. A lot of people expected it to be, blah, the new world is here, and that we would have instant change. And a lot of people don't realize that we actually did have a shift in 2012. It's just that
I,
what we have is collective evolution.
yeah, well,
You can
we're
have instant manifestation, absolutely, but I don't. The human mind needs time to adjust. So we have actually been in that new Earth consciousness has been building since 2012.
Yeah, well, I had a violent awakening in 2012. It was like, "Ooh," for me, but also people forget that Earth moved into the photonic belt in
Mhm.
2012. I mean, the photonic belt oscillates. It goes like this. It goes wow, 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 like that. So, we were getting the fringes like for years before, but we came fully in 2012. That's part of the reason why the Schumann resonance is jumping up and everything. And the Mayans predicted that we're going through the Alcyon rings, is connected to the Pleiadian system, which
Mm.
take 2,000 years to go through, and every 11,000 years or so we hit it, and we're in it now. So
Oh, that explains something. Okay, so the other thing that happened in 2012 was the fourth dimension converged with the third dimension, making it possible for us to now, rather than having to leap into 5D, we can cross the fourth dimensional bridge into 5D. But back in about 2011, one of the messages that came in was that we had been on this track for approximately 11,000 years. That makes sense. I was wondering where the 11,000 years came from.
yeah, well, because we've been in a very dark, dense part of the
Oh, the galaxy, right?
yeah, but with a low consciousness, and also energetic matrix constructs, not only on Earth but surrounding it too, so no light could get in. And we descended. Earth descended the last time we went through this thing. So there is a consciousness, I believe. Gaia is trying to keep a high consciousness, and I also believe that Agartha and beings in the inner Earth still exist, and they have a high consciousness. But we descended, so that's where the 11,000 years comes from. And but right now, I would say to people, if the old isn't serving you, just and you can't make it work, and you really can't make it work, just try to move on, because it's going to it'll get more and more painful. It'll probably get worse if whatever it is won't move or won't work for you. It'll probably get worse, and you make yourself ill.
Right. Yeah, you end up with the spiritual 2x4 at the back of your head. If you don't,
Yeah.
if you don't follow the signs now, it'll just get more and more painful until it becomes obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or until your guys are just whacking you in the balls with it, the head, or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, and also I've noticed the other thing recently is the power of spoken word in terms of manifestation has never been stronger. I mean, I've seen it in the language I'm using, and I actually had to really raise my own personal game recently, because the power of spoken word and in terms of manifestation and the speed at which it's now coming at is faster than I've ever experienced in my life. I said something accidentally recently, and I blocked myself, and then I had to undo it. And then when I undid it, all came flooding back in. So we've got to be really careful of the words we're using now. So that's really, really important. Fake it till you make it, if necessary. If you're not feeling happy or whatever, just say, I am really happy. Everything's going my way, and I'm going to get everything I need. And that thing, even if you don't believe it, just say it. Because as we speak, we spell, and abracadabra and all that jazz. It's really super important now. So manifestation is just going to keep going. And like I was telling someone the other day, you get home in an old energy, the furniture in the room, the chair stayed the same. You get home now, the furniture in the room, the chair is now on the other side of the room. It's all changing. We're in a soup of flowing stuff all the time now, and you gotta be the soup and flow with it. That's why it's so important to constantly be aware of how you're feeling in the now, because the now is oscillating. It's like water. It's not like just one thing, linear, stuck in place in a low consciousness, in a low vibration, in a low density, where it was solid. You couldn't move, you couldn't get anywhere, you couldn't manifest, you couldn't energetically breathe. It was like walking through treacle sludge. Now it's like there's a party in the frequency. That's why it's moving around so much. Like, so you walk in your bedroom, the bed's moved, so you got to move with it. That's why you got to be so conscious at how you're feeling in the present and what it's showing you, so that you can move with it. And that's all about being in touch with your intuition and working with your intuition. And you got to cut out distractions to have that noise and people and low vibe stuff, and your job that you hate, that something else you want to do, go do it. And the relationship that you spent years and years trying to, more distractions, it doesn't work, just move on, or whatever. Cut out all the distractions, all the noise. Now, the fact that we're all locked down in our homes is potentially one of the best things that's happened to all of us, because everyone's going inside and getting rid of all the noise. They can hear the thoughts that have been desperately trying to get through to them, probably their entire life, when the universe was saying turn left, but you kept turning right. People are hearing their thoughts for the first time, in some respects. And that's why the other thing I'm seeing with a lot of the people I'm working with is that they're the token spiritual person that everyone thinks is crazy now, because they're suddenly interested in all this stuff and they can't stop talking about it. And the wife or the husband and the kids like, wow, you're the loony one. Well, actually, anyone who believes half the BS that's going on are the Looney Tunes, really. But it's not their fault. They're so institutionalized, and they're so ingrained in the old system that they want to keep that thing propped up, because if you sweep the rug from underneath them, that could have serious psychological consequences, because they're not ready for it. So why keep the rug there and all the rest of it? So it's a tricky one. We're the way showers. We had the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, and we've got third wave, fourth wavers. But in some respects, we're still the way showers. So we're still blazing the trail. And, my next video on my YouTube is going to be called What They Don't Tell You About Ascension. Because actually...
yeah. all the not so pretty stuff that comes with it.
Yeah. Because you got to be disciplined, and what I keep saying to everyone is 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yes, the Texas 2-step. I've been calling it that for years.
Yeah. 2 steps
two
forward,
steps,
1 step back. Like you do a little progression, then you go back a little bit, then you move forward, then you move back. It's not just going to be constantly forward. It's going to be like, it's going to go like this, up and down, but you'll
right.
sit in peaks and troughs, still moving forward. So that's what I've mostly been seeing at the moment. Manifestation and the power of words really increasing. Everyone trying to figure out how to get rid of the old, but not sure how to move on. But they know that the old now doesn't work, and it's just going to keep going up. I've also noticed the energies recently have massively calmed down, because we had a massive spike for about 2-3 weeks, and Ascension symptoms, heart palpitations, headaches, crown chakra issues, sleepless nights. I've noticed recently that's starting to calm down a little bit now. And people are now embodying the changes that they went through. And I'm personally not looking forward to a massive peak, because I'm just starting to feel calmed down myself. But the energies do seem to feel a little bit more calm, and everyone's looking for the answer. And where's Q, and where's our favorite ET, and where's the information coming from, or where's the news? And the news that I have for all those people is, as star seeds, people say, well, when are we going to see a disclosure? When are we going to see all the ETs? Oh my God, they're all in front of you. You're looking at Arcturian salt, not the physical embodiment, but you're seeing the biggest disclosure of ET souls probably on this planet for hundreds, thousands of years. All the ET souls are right in front of you. You got disclosure in front of you. So, we've all graduated now as star seeds and ETs and stuff. It is time to start making the new earth that we want ourselves. Got to stop, relying on the governments, all these people. Don't worry about where the next bit of information is going to come from. It's going to come from you. It's going to come from us. And you got to go out and we'll start creating this world now.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm getting exactly the same message. Too many people expected, well, at least here in the US, expected, number 45 to be the answer to all their issues. And I've been, preaching that for months, that this saying that a lot of us have been using since 2012, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Hello, we actually are the ones we've been waiting for. And we need to be the change we want to see in the world. There isn't a leader out there that's going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason that the quote, God helps those who help themselves. It's not sit on your butt and expect somebody else to fix it for you. It's get off your butt, get together with like-minded and like-hearted people, and let's get this thing done.
Yeah. And it actually is.
It's not done, but at least get it started.
Yeah. But it actually isn't that difficult. All you got to do is just use your voice, just speak your truth. And when enough people speak their truth, the ripple and the consequences that have is unstoppable. Intention.
Well, that's why so many of us have these shows. Spirit was telling me months ago, every person who has the ability to have a show needs to have a show. Every person who can write a book needs to write a book. We need to be the new airwaves. When enough of us spread these messages of new earth across the airwaves, it will manifest, because it must, because that actually becomes the new collective consciousness just by us speaking it. Like you said, the power of our words.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And I learned that the hard way recently. We got to be really careful about the words we're using now, because in an old energy, it took a long time for our words to catch up with us, but now it's pretty quick. And I'm actually seeing that for real. It's not just like some new age stuff, oh, I read a book and of the power of spoken word, all this new age. I am actually living it. I'm seeing it in my life, I'm seeing it for real. It's not just something I read in a book. So, and also as you carry on and you start to play with energies more and become more aligned with being able to discern energies, you get used to, figuring out how to manifest them as well. But, no one really, I would say, there's only very few on the planet who are real, amazing manifestors, because we've all been in the dark so long that we're actually only really, truly, as a society, as a civilization, as a collective, really just stepping back into it.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be some super manifestors out there. But, we're only really just getting our gifts and abilities back, big picture.
Yeah, every once in a while, I manifest something really And it always amazes me when I do. Like, oh, here's an example. So back when I first discovered the law of attraction, which would have been, 2010. Okay, this when The Secret came out, and I knew about the law of attraction and positive thinking for years. This isn't new stuff, but the Secret, the movie The Secret, made it more mainstream. And so there was one day about 10 years ago, I was just sitting here and saying to myself, and now I've always been a tomboy, and I never dressed like a girl. I didn't like looking like a girl. I wore I wore suits, that I wore a polo shirt for the job that I had. And I just decided, I was in my early 40s. I'm like, you know what? I decided I'm ready to be a girl. I would like some jewelry. That's all I said. It showed up in my mailbox. My neighbor gave me jewelry. I'm like, wow, it works. That is how easy it works when we say what we want and have no attachments to where we think it's going to come from. And I did that same thing. I was at a show, and they had this, spin the wheel thing. And I said to the person behind me, I said, oh, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to win that travel bag. And I won it. Nothing like that has ever happened to me. But it's because I stated it without any strings attached at all.
Yeah.
It's just, so that's what we and I have another one for you. This one was actually in my 20s, and this is way back when I first discovered the law of attraction during my first spiritual awakening, my early 20s. I had said to myself, I really don't like my job. I don't want this job anymore. Lost my job the next day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I had just been learning about the law of attraction, and what I had learned the day before is be really careful what you ask for, because you just might get it.
Yeah.
And that one hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh, crap. Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. So
yeah.
if you say you don't want this job anymore, you might find another way to say, I'm grateful for the new job that is coming, or something like that, because careful what you say, especially now that we're moving more into this fifth dimensional consciousness, where, as you were saying, instant manifestation is happening now faster than ever before.
Oh yeah, and the other thing I've noticed is that I went through a period of time when I was having a lot of ET interaction, a lot of ET dreams, a lot of ET experiences, and I don't get any of them anymore, because it's like, well, we showed up, we showed you who we are, we gave you all these experiences. Yes, I get messages that come through, but I'm talking about the really like incredible ET moments when I was going on board craft and having weird things happen in the flat. I'm talking about physical things, like really visceral things. So I don't like, obviously I get messages, but I don't call that like well, I'm used to that. Some people might not be used to that, but what I noticed, what is happening quite a lot is they will hold your hand for a bit, say, hey, we're real. They'll give you loads of dreams when you're on board the ship all the time, like you remember it. But
Right.
but then it falls away. It's like, okay, we've shown you now, but go for it. Off you go. And it's the same. It's the same with everything else happening now. It's off you go. Off we go. Let's go now. We graduated. Let's do this.
Yeah, and I remember that when I first had my newest awakening experience and started opening a channel to spirit. And when that happened, I literally had people lining up wanting to talk to me. I'm like, wait, shh, one at a time. I can't hear you all at the same time. And the feeling that I got from that is that when a new channel is opened, they get really excited. Woo, there's a new person that can communicate with us. And so what I think we're going to start seeing is more people starting to have that experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like an initiation. They get a massive bunch of like supernatural stuff, ET, off-world, on-world stuff happening. It's like, hey, here we are. This is what it looks like. And then they get a bit more used to it. And then it starts to calm down a bit. It's like, okay, now you've seen it. You know what it's like. You know we're here. Off you go. Start creating.
Go do your work with it. We've
Yeah.
given you this gift. Now go use it on behalf of humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I am a little bit bummed with the Arcturians, because I did one time have this experience that was so unreal. I pleaded to go on the ships and meet them and everything, and I just and I had this voice in my head say, "Go lie down right now." And I fell asleep fell asleep. I just closed my eyes, and then I had this unbelievable trance-like moment, and it was so beautiful. And I've never experienced anything like it ever before. My body was just vibrating in the most incredible unconditional love. And it was like I was there. It was like I'm here with you now. And I pleaded with them to have that again, but I haven't had quite the same thing ever again. So those are the moments that you have to really, really treasure when they come. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I had an experience not with any of the ETs, but it was in my kitchen about 10 years ago, and I got flooded into every microcosm of my being with love, with a love I didn't even know was possible. And it literally, I was crying, and I could feel it like pulsating through my entire body. And I asked, I said, "What is this?" And they said, "We want you to know what love really is."
Yeah, I've had that.
And it's the stuff that everything is made of. And the high, that's why people go to heaven and don't want to come back. It's that same, I got to experience that standing in my kitchen. I didn't have to have an out of body experience. It actually came into my body. And I think that's what people experience when they're transitioning out and they choose whether they want to come back to Earth or not. And it's like, oh, I don't know if I really want to, because the intense level of bliss
Yeah.
is better than any drug you can even possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean, apart from listening to,
and I wanted to have that since then. And you know what Spirit said to me? But to still live on planet Earth. Because otherwise I'd be up in that high all the time, and you can't really be physically present when you're off in La La Land all the time. So
there's this YouTube video of a guy who had to have this rare operation, but what they had to do was put his body on ice. They had to bring his body temperature very, very low during the operation. I can't remember the reason why. And they said there's a 50% chance you'll survive this operation. But if you don't have it, if you have it, I think it's likely, you can live for maybe a very, very long time. But if you don't have it, you might die. So he said, okay, let's do it. So they basically took him into anesthesiology, or whatever it is you call it, and started packing ice all around his body, because I think it might have been even something to do with the brain, or I can't remember, but they had to bring his body, it might have even been a brain cancer or something, but they had to bring the temperature of his body down very, very low. And then as they were operating on him, he actually had an NDE, near-death experience, and he came out of his body. And he was in the in-between world, though, and it was and a being. He started to get the feeling of that unconditional love feeling, and a being was behind him. And the being said, "Don't turn around, don't look at me." And he said, "Why? Why can't I look at you?" And the being said, "If you look at me, you will know who I am, and you will know where you're going, and you won't be able to go back in your body, because it is not your time, and you will refuse to go back."
mm-hmm.
And it was Yeshua, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he remembers Jesus putting his arms around him and just feeling something he's never been able to express ever since. And he said, you need to go back, because there are things you need to do, and it will affect other people very badly if you don't go back. And he said, "Don't look at me. You must not look at me. You must not turn around, because then you will never go back. You will not be able, you will not want to go back. I will not be able to persuade you to go back." So he remembers not turning around and not looking, and just feeling Yeshua embracing him. And then he said, "You're going back now." And he remembers plummeting back into his body. And they said, they said, when he woke up, said, "We thought we lost you because you flatlined." And that was when he was with Jesus. And anyway, he went back and he said he had a wonderful life after that, because he had an incredible life, whatever it was, that energy at the time that he felt stayed with him the rest of his whole life. And he's still alive and he's led a very, very happy life. Isn't that a beautiful story?
It is beautiful. And probably the number of lives that he's changed as a result of that experience. But he's affected. I don't prefer not to use the word change, but the number of lives he's positively affected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and starseeds, high vibrational people also indirectly do that, although they're not aware they're doing that, but they indirectly do that because they're affecting someone's soul, even though you can't see it physically or might not be able to understand it, psychologically. So, that stuff goes on a lot. So it's just going to keep on getting, expect the weird, expect the crazy. Things are going to get more crazy, more weird. The battle between light and dark is going to get more and more intense. We're all going to be, this situation where we're all at home is going to keep going on for a little while, unfortunately, yet, in my opinion. We ain't out of the woods yet. And the great reconstruction years, as I've been saying for quite some time now, are 2020 to 24, if not 25, when we get to the end of a Jupiter conjunction, the end of a Jupiter, a Uranus return, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, now really is the time to put in the work, raise your vibration, because it's going to really start paying off. And if you just keep soldiering on with the old, even though you hate it, it's just gonna bomb you out, and you'll probably end up getting ill and dying. So make the check, make the big crossover. Don't be scared to leave a job, do something else, or a relationship. If you can't stand it, just make the jump now.
Yeah.
It's gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off when we get into the really, really higher energies. Because if you're really getting higher energies, then you're still holding that stuff, it's gonna freaking hurt physically.
Well, it's like trying to fly while still being tethered to the ground.
Yeah.
You can't, I'm saying, like, an eagle flying while being chained to a rock. You can flap your wings, but you're not going to go anywhere. There's only so much height you can get while still being chained to the old world.
Yeah.
And it is fear. It's fear that's keeping anybody stuck in an old situation.
Yeah.
And the word that I've been hearing so strongly the last couple of months is trust. We've got to just learn to trust.
Yeah, that's every light worker's worst saying at the moment. Trust in the divine plan. Woo!
Every trust in the divine plan. There is that, but it's trust that if you take that leap of faith, that things will be okay. Trust that if you let go of the old world, that the new world will begin to manifest on your behalf. And trust is scary because it's something we've never really been taught self-trust.
Yeah.
Self-trust is one of the most powerful forces that we can experience. It stems from self-love. It's one of the aspects of loving ourselves. And when we trust ourselves, it also means we're trusting the divine, because we're all aspects of the divine. And it is being willing to listen to what we know is really best for us, and then not being afraid of taking that leap and trusting that things will be okay. I had to learn that lesson myself the hard way. When I finally decided it was time to leave my husband, I put it off for 5 years, even though I knew that I kept hoping that he would wake up and come along. And finally, back in August, Spirit said, look, you got to let him go. You will never be who you're here to be while you're dragging him along behind you. You need to be willing to I had to let everybody go. I let go of friends. I let go of relationships. I let go of agreements. I had to let go of every last thing in 2020. And I even let go of my kids. And when Spirit kind of forced my kids out of my life, I was like, really? My kids too? And the response was, no, but you're letting go of the type of relationship that you have with them. So now my kids are back in my life again, but the relationship has shifted. It's no longer a codependent relationship that it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to let go of everybody in my life in order for me to be the the greater version of who I'm here to be. And it's scary to do that because it's the comfort zone, but my friends, my family, all of it. I'm not saying that's what other people need to do. That's what I was told I need to do. And the purging started in 2018. I started feeling in 2018 the urge to purge. And I started, I go around my house and say, what else can I get rid of? What else do I need to let go of? Because the stuff that we cling to, most of it it's needless things.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started the purging process. Now my life is pretty clear of anything that isn't what is best. I don't like to use the terms right and wrong either. That's because that's right and wrong are both a matter of personal perspective. So I focus on what is best. What is the best thing for me moving forward? What is the best thing for the job that I have? What is the best thing in my relationship? So when we focus on the word best instead of right and wrong, we get a much better response from spirit and from our higher selves or guardians or whoever it is that's helping to guide our way. And so, yeah, not being afraid of letting go of what's no longer serving this new self that we're all being called to be. And the thing is that when we're willing to let go, the universe, God, source, whatever our name is for spirit, then can put something new into our path. But
Absolutely.
cannot fill a glass that's already full. Have to
Absolutely.
dump some of it out.
And if I can add to that, the more you just jump into something, I mean, obviously don't just do something that's so out of your depth that, that you'll just sink. But the more you just jump into something with faith, the more the universe will support you and the quicker it'll come. The bigger the leap you take, the more supported you will be.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that people need to understand is that in this new world that we're creating, there are going to be so many new opportunities opening up. So not be afraid to let go of the job that you hate, because as we know, there are going to be a bunch of humanitarian projects created moving forward, and new, more conscious businesses, more conscious opportunities are going to be presented. That those will not actually be presented until we create the void for them to fill. So we have to be willing to create the void.
Yeah, and I'm also seeing from the good guys and the bad guys. So the good and the bad. That the financial fall has to come either way, because you got to break down the old for the new.
Yep, we've been talking about that for years. Yeah, that's a conversation we've been having for, at least in my community, for about the last 12 years. That that all the systems were going to be collapsing, and that they have to, in order for the new systems to take their place. What Spirit's asking us right now is to get really busy designing those systems so that the infrastructure is already in place. The infrastructure for our new systems looks like Metatron's cube. I've been shown that for the last couple of years.
Cool.
But we need to use our own. Human beings are creatives. We are creators. That is how we're made in the image and likeness of God. We are the creators of our reality. We need to get busy designing what we want our new systems to look like, because if we don't, the old systems, they've already got their design in place. If we don't create new designs to replace them, that will maintain. The old systems will maintain. So yeah, we got to get our focus off of what what has existed, be present in the now of what it is that feels present with us, the world that we want to create, and then envision what we want it to look like. So yeah, the thing that Spirit's been showing me is that the old fear-based, here's one thing that happened in 2012. Competition is part of the old world fear-based reality. In 2012, a lot of people got the message of moving into collaboration. That's one of the things that started in 2012. Collaboration started in 2012. Digital currency started a little bit before that, but really like anchored in 2012. Those are all interim into this new reality that we're creating. So the new reality we're creating is cooperation. So the new businesses are actually going to be co-ops, which is funny enough, when you go back to the word corporation, that's what they were intended to be. They were cooperations, and they just got twisted into being monopolies. and we're going to go back into co-ops again. But that takes a 5D consciousness to be able to pull off a co-op, because we have to be able to pull our brains out of competition, and that's been so wired in us for so many thousands of years that there's lack in competition. It's basically have to recode our brains in order to grasp co-op.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have reptilian DNA in our brain. That's why they call it the reptilian brain. Simply, no, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist.
It's
Okay.
right here. It's called the brainstem. I mean, science has proven that.
Yeah. Well, that's how some draconian entities actually come in through the reptilian brain in your dream. Then that's how they can,
It's the fight or flight. It's a fight or flight brain. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are other ETs that just don't have that type of nervous system, but we're also got to breed that out of us as well. All the not only the genetic manipulation, the genetic encoding, but that part of our reptilian self, we need to breed that out too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can consciously do that. We can consciously change our DNA.
And you know what? I had a message come through to me from my higher self, a big one, and because I was asking for a message because, again, the good guys and the bad guys. So let me say it again: the good and the bad guys. About I'm hearing from both sides that the population, there might be a bit of a decrease in years and years to come. That it will actually start going down. And I kept asking out loud, what are we, how is they going to make up for that? What's going to happen with all these people that might not be here? And I was actually cooking at the time in silence by myself. And I was thinking on this, and I thought, I haven't got a message yet. And then it, boom, just came straight down. It went, haven't you heard of the hybridization program? We're building a freaking army with all the human hybrids. They're going to be appearing and filling up the population. So all these beings that are on ships, and you dream of a child throughout the years that's growing up, they're all on ships and stuff, and they're going to be coming down here and filling places. Some of them are going to look like a new evolved type of human. They've been growing in another place, but the human hybridization program is massive. So there's lots of humans been agreeing to be doing that, but they're also going to be filling places, human places, in time to come. So that's partly why.
Okay.
Some of them are,
no, that makes sense, because they're going to be filling some of the leadership positions to help us create new systems.
And so some of them are going to be coming here. Some of them will be going other places. But the hybridization program is actually very, very big. So that's part of why that's going on.
Okay. That makes actually, this is really funny. This is fascinating, and I have to agree with that. So I was asking, there are a lot more conscious women than there are men, and a lot of us have chosen to leave relationships because the men aren't catching up to the women. And I was like, what about all these single women who haven't met their twin flames or their soulmates? And the response that came is because they're not on planet yet.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you've heard that famous saying. This is not in reality with what we're talking about. This is just purely for fun.
Yeah, this is just for fun too. Yeah, I can't guarantee it. That was just a funny response. Yeah.
No, well, actually, what you were saying could actually be true. But you know how like Demi Moore was like dating someone 20 years younger, and there's other celebrities who've been dating someone 10 years younger. And then there was, I can't remember all the names, but then there was like some other woman who was dating like someone like 15 years younger. And then the voice basically says, "Still single? Don't worry, your boyfriend hasn't been born yet."
I'm not seeing that. I'm just seeing more of
no, that's a joke. That's a joke.
I know, but that is, and there's something really sick and twisted about that.
Yeah.
I guess if you're 50 and dating somebody 30 is a little bit different than if you're 30 and dating a 10-year-old. And I do actually have some friends who date younger men, but which is, freaks me out a little bit. But apparently there's someone younger than me at some point I'm going to meet, according to a psychic.
Right.
But I think there are a lot of more conscious humanoids that just are not here yet. They're up there.
Yeah, and they'll they'll be appearing. They've got
Yeah.
slightly bigger heads. They've got slightly bigger eyes, and the nose is not quite as pronounced. But you'll start seeing more and more of those as time goes on.
Cool. Yeah, I had an experience when I was on vacation last week with my kids, and I think I saw a spaceship. It's the only answer I have for it. And I was in the hot tub with my daughter, and she doesn't. I think she kind of semi believes in things. And she said, I said, yeah, come sit in this. And we were looking up at the stars. And I said, no, I'd really like to see a spaceship. And she goes, Mom, just be grateful for the stars. And I said, I am grateful for the stars. And I'd also like to see a spaceship. So a couple of minutes later, we were looking up, and this light above us flashed, the brightest thing you could ever possibly imagine flashing. She's like, what is that? And I said, I don't know. And then a couple of, like, it moved a little bit, and then a bright flash again. And then it moved a little bit, and a bright flash again. Not a star, not a spaceship, not an, I mean, not an airplane, not a satellite. It was, I can't even explain, like, the brightness of 100 stars. That's how bright it was.
Yeah. Well, you know when
And
you know.
and I said, and I told her, I said, that, I said, according to this CE5 thing I've been a part of, that's one of the ways they tell us that they're here, is they flash you.
Yeah, sure.
So I think
100%.
she can't explain it now either. She's like, that was probably a spaceship. There you
Yeah.
go.
Or just family.
Or just family. Somebody saying hello.
Yeah, just someone saying, hey, we're here. Just get on with your work.
Well, it was just cool to experience that with my daughter, because she, I'm looking for more bonding experiences with her, because she's on the other end of, well, she's a star seed, but a lot of the star seeds right now are being manipulated into the false reality, because the last thing in the world the darkness wants is for star seeds to remember who they are.
Oh, 100%. The last thing they want anyone remembering who they are. Yeah,
But these
100%.
star seeds are here to help create a new world. They're incredibly, I mean, they're born with their magic, they're born with their light, incredibly vibrant. And a lot of these kids don't even remember. They don't remember that when they were kids they saw angels. They don't remember when they were kids that they saw ETs. They don't even remember, because it's been, like, programmed out of them. And the last thing the dark side wants is for these kids to remember their magic, and to remember that they're the volunteers that came here specifically to help us create a new world. And so
Yeah,
those of us who are parents of these kids are really frustrated, because it's like, oh,
yeah.
can you
And
remember?
that eating McDonald's is not good for you.
The what?
Eating McDonald's is not good for you.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
case you enjoy eating, dead babies and human and God knows what else they're actually really putting in there.
Yeah. Whatever they feel like, whatever they can scrounge up, or whatever they feel like feeding
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and the chemical companies run the entire food industry now, so they can put whatever they want in our food and call it natural ingredients.
Well, have you heard the new thing they're doing now? I mean, I saw this on the news, and I just laughed. And anyone who believes this absolute shit is just a moron. I mean, the cabal lies are just unreal. I mean, when they do it on the news now, I just see it straight away. And the new one is cows are going to basically ruin the ozone layer, and the cows are now contributing to greenhouse gases. And methane is this toxic gas, and it's going to make global warming so terrible. And the cows are making all of this awful stuff. There's actually less cows on the planet than there have ever been, and less bison, because we're eating all of them, and there's more people on the planet than there's ever been. The cows are not the problem. So they're saying, no, what we have to do now is to give them this new type of feed, which will reduce all the methane that they're making. They're basically saying, we're just going to put another type of poison in the food chain that will basically go into your system and dumb you down even more. I mean, it's just the things they're coming up with. It just makes me laugh now.
So I had heard a couple of years ago about the methane and the cows and all that, and in full responsibility, it's because we've been chopping down the trees, not the cows, because the trees clean the air. The cows are fine. Well, not only that, but we've been feeding the cows what cows don't naturally eat: cows can only digest grass. When cows digest grass, they don't produce methane. Their manure is perfectly safe to put on your gardens. I grew up with cows. We put manure on our gardens. We put manure on our lawns. Cow manure is incredibly good as a fertilizer. When the cows only eat grass, the problem is that we've been feeding cows stuff that isn't grass. And when we feed them stuff that isn't grass, we ruin their digestive system. They get diseases. Then we have to pump them full of antibiotics because of diseases they get from us not feeding them grass. Cows are fine. If we let them free range on grass, they're not a problem.
100%.
If we stop cutting down the trees and burning the rainforest to make room for more cows, that's one of the issues that needs to be solved. Let's stop focusing on the problem and start focusing on the solutions, and stop, the hormones that they were pumping into cows 20 years ago is the reason you had 8-year-olds starting their periods, because of all the hormones that was in the cow milk and in the cow meat.
Yep.
Parents got wind of that, and so now the milk doesn't have hormones in it, but the hormones are still in the meat, and the poisons are still in the meat. And so many people are moving now into being vegan instead of eating cows because of the cattle industry that has been so horrific and uncompassionate, that now they're creating the meat substitutes that they put any chemical they feel like into the meat substitutes.
But you know what the problem is with turning vegan also, and I've learned this the hard way. I know other people, this is going to be quite, some people might even hate me for saying this, but I'm past all that now, because we're past fence sitting. So a lot of people just go, I'm just going to suddenly turn vegetarian. I'm just going to suddenly turn vegan. I'm just going to suddenly change my diet that I've had for the last 18, 30, 40 years, that my cellular makeup knows and understands, and just hope that it'll be okay. You've got to change your diet slowly, because, I know a lot of people who suddenly went spiritual and just changed their diet overnight. And then they became anemic. They started getting health problems, heart issues. And the doctor said, well, we got your blood test back and you're like lacking B12 and you're lacking B and you got no iron, you're anemic. Like you're going down a bad path here. Like can talk us through your diet. Oh, well, I just became vegan overnight because I just want to raise my vibration. By all means, listen to the body. I say now, what I say now, I've actually modified my stance. I say, eat for your blood type. And I say, naturally, as the vibration goes up, you will need less dense foods. But it's going to take generations for people to like all become like vegan and vegetarian. You can't just do it overnight, because we suddenly have to, it's our cellular makeup. For some people, they still need certain vitamins and things. So I'm going to say, if you're going to cut all the meat out, make sure you take some supplements, know your blood type, know your body chemistry, because I personally, I'm pescatarian. So I only eat fish and vegetables. But what I'm aware of is there's a lot of spiritual people putting a lot of very unnecessary pressure for people and then demonizing them, and then say, you're doing that, judgment. That's not very high spiritual.
Right.
So if people want to wean themselves off slowly, I would say, go and have a blood test, find what your blood type is. And then if you want to cut out all the red meat stuff, then know what supplements you can take in the meantime, so that you're not going to become anemic or have a health problem. And and the other thing I would say to a lot of spiritual people, say, you can't eat this and you can't do this. And like, sorry, but are you living in that person's body? Do you know their medical requirements? Do you know their blood type? Do you know what's going to happen if they just cut everything out overnight? No, you don't. And what I keep saying is, listen to your body. Your body's going to tell you what you need. Your body's going to tell you what you don't need. It might take generations for your blood type to become vegetarian. Some people can do it overnight. Everyone's different. Everyone's got a different path, a blood type. Akashically, if you've been eating beef for thousands of years and you just switch in one lifetime, you're going to have problems. So everyone is different. Everyone's unique. And there is not one shoe that just fits everybody. You could just click your fingers and you're vegan overnight. So, it's different for everybody. And you got some people are going to wean themselves off red meat slowly. That means instead of doing it not just overnight, then you cut it down to once a month, or whatever. And all these people who demonize and judge and point fingers, that's not spiritual. That's not spiritual. You've got to allow people to do it gracefully and slowly over time. Because I know a lot of nutritionists who are afraid to come out in the spiritual community because they're afraid that they're going to be demonized for saying, well, actually, I went vegan so quick and I had health problems.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think it does have a lot to do with your blood type. Now, my particular blood type, because I did do that, I had everybody in my family tested. My blood type, my body is so much happier without red meat. I don't eat mammals. My body but I didn't do that overnight. I went slowly, first letting go of beef, and then, and once in a while I still have chicken. I do eat fish, but and my weakness is cheese. I admit it. Ooh, I love a good wine and cheese. But for me, that's a delicious treat. And I listen to my body. And if my body doesn't like what I've put into it, boy, does it let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now I'm at the point where I can't digest beef. If I eat beef now, my body, it just sits like a lump it takes like 24 hours to process beef now.
Yeah, well, I tried it recently just to see what it was like for the first time in 3-4 years, and it sat there like a rock, and I couldn't.
It's like putrid inside. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, all I'm trying to say to all these evangelical spiritual people is you don't have the right to tell someone else what to put in their body. You can give them advice, but then don't judge them when they're not living the way you live. That is not compassionate, and that's not loving. You give them information, but also it will take certain blood type, hunter-gatherer blood types, longer to wean themselves off. Let them do it in their own damn time and stop judging.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I've seen. And what I don't think a lot of people understand, that judgment is a fear-based energy. So if we're trying to move into a 100% love-based reality, which is, ultimately that's what we would all love to live in, a primarily love-based reality. And in the vibration of love, there isn't judgment. There is acceptance that people are on their own path and people are on their own journey, and everybody is love having a human experience. And some bodies need different food than other bodies, and every body has a different experience. We're all here to experience something different, and to be able to move out of judgment. As Yeshua said, judge not lest you be judged. It's that simple. Let's stay out of judgment about how we think other people should be. Again, I go back to stop shooting on other people and stop shooting on ourselves, because that actually creates more of our own suffering. When we think other people need to be a certain way, going back to the conversation at the very beginning, that when we hold attachments for how we think things should be and how we think other people should be, that actually creates suffering within ourselves.
It does. It does. I see people, I see starseeds in the community who literally hate on people because they ate some red meat. And
that's not loving.
I say to myself, I have clients who I as I keep saying, I'm pescatarian, so I eat fish and vegetables. I don't eat red meat anymore myself, but I have some clients who eat red meat all the time. I don't hate them. Do you know what I mean? I still help them through all their issues and keep loving them. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to keep supporting each other.
I might actually have to run.
Okay.
I need to respond really quick I don't remember if our call is now or if it's in an hour.
Okay, look, you shoot. It's always been a joy speaking to you. I love speaking to you. You're one of my favorite people to speak to. I'm so glad we could do today. And I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah. And we never did get around to some of the other things we wanted to talk about. So we'll have to set up another time to talk about the other things.
Yeah, we will. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. But this has been a fantastic, unexpected conversation. And I'm glad we both hit the record button, because How many times have we had great conversations and not recorded them?
How many times? Let me think. On a percentage scale, it would be about 100%.
Pretty much, yeah. When they're not planned, recorded conversations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been fantastic. I do have to go. I'm meeting with with one of my other favorite people who I'll introduce you at some point, Kathy Mason, who is she knows, I swear she knows every magical person on the planet. And if I haven't connected with her to the two of you yet, I will, because she's somebody that you will love to know. So
Sounds good.
I got to
All
run
right.
and have that. It's a marketing meeting for my next book. So
That's important. Okay,
yeah.
much love. Speak soon. And thanks again for today. Love you, lads.
Love. Bye.
Ciao.